Notch, the man behind the biggest game that has ever existed. The game focuses entirely around making it what you want it to be. He single-handedly brought this huge community of people that loved the game into existence. Or so we think. You see, giving one dude all of this credit is a big stretch if you think about it. Millions of people have played this game, and are we really going to sit here and say that this guy is responsible for all of it? I'm going to prove to you today that Marcus Persson did not create Minecraft and show you who actually did. Minecraft's creation goes as such. Marcus Persson, aka Nacherino, was working for King during 2009. You might be familiar with that company as they were responsible for Candy Crush. You know, the game that your mother and aunt would play with their sound all the way up. When he wasn't working for King, he, like anyone who has ever wanted to be a developer, worked on his own games in his off time. Dwarf Fortress had been floating around since about 2006 when its first alpha version was released. It was a small indie game about defending a fortress with the idea that no matter how well you played it, you were still going to die. Life is already like that, so why they made that part of the game is beyond me. Despite being released over 10 years ago, it is literally still in development, and Tarn Adams, one of the designers, stated in 2011 that a 1.0 version will likely not be released for at least another 20 years. My man, we might not be around to see it. Nacherino, seeing the cult following it was gaining, took to copying it. He set his sights on making a clone called Ruby Dung that was more accessible to beginners, as the biggest critique of the game at the time was how complicated it was, and I can see where they're coming from. Looking at screenshots of the game reminds me of those moving backgrounds of random code falling you could download on your Samsung Galaxy S3 for only 50 cents. Then, he discovered Infiniminer. He said, and I quote, "My God, I realized that was the game I wanted to do." If you are not familiar with what Infiniminer is, I want to first say hi, welcome to the club that includes everyone on Earth. It was an open source multiplayer game with the two main objectives of digging for resources and creating structures. Crafting and mining, if you will. The game was discontinued in 2009 as Zachtronics, the creators of it, found a major source leak that allowed hackers to drastically modify the game. Many people began to make mods for it, and so the game was discontinued only a month after launching it. Little did they know that creating mods would become a huge component of a game that is arguably a copy of it, yet is much more successful. I would be so angry. This was the green light Notchman needed to go ahead and develop a similar game with a few more fantasy-based tweaks. He implemented a first-person engine and reused some code and artwork from Ruby Dung. Most notably, he would reuse the cobblestone and grass textures, and although they were iconic for the time, we don't have to act like they look good. Later that year, he would release a developmental version of Minecraft onto the TIG source forums, the biggest forum focused on independent game creation. His initial release did remarkably well, and many people began to test it out and tell them what was working and what wasn't. This version would be later known as Classic. Later in 2010, he would finally release the alpha version of the game, which was met with a lot of enthusiasm. He would quit his job atjalbum.net, a company that works to create photo albums online. You know, like Google Photos or iCloud. With the money he was making from the game, he would be able to launch his own game company, Mojang. He would pull his old co-worker from King, Jacob Porser, and the CEO of Jalbum, Carl Manna, into his new company. Poor Carl must have seen how useless his job was becoming. Even later in 2010, Notchitha announced that Minecraft was going into beta testing, and finally, in 2011, Minecraft 1.0 was released to the public. You might be wondering how he took all of this feedback he was getting from this huge audience Minecraft was attracting and implemented it into the game. How did he want to improve on this already amazing game and expand it to the heights he had talked about before? Well, let me tell you, he left. He gave all creative control to Jens Bergensten a month after its official release. He spent all the time combining his ideas and compiling this amazing game, and as soon as it took off, he dipped. He just left. This is a key detail when discussing how Minecraft became what it is today. Just about everything we know and love about it comes from Jeb. He and his team implemented villager trading, changing the game mode, the nether, literally everything. You couldn't even do that stupid little hidden doorway with a painting trick if it wasn't for that brilliant man. Notchman Mustard did the equivalent of stealing a skeleton from his high school biology teacher, shaving off a few inches from the femur, reassembling it, calling it a dwarf, then when everyone found the monstrosity and asked, "Hey, what is this and why do I love it?" he left his friend Brad to make up the backstory and dress it up for prom. But plot twist, Brad is amazing. Jeb was incredible at carrying the game on and making it so unlike any other we see today. Just taking a quick look at the timeline that shows versions of the game and who was responsible for them clearly shows Jeb carrying the game on his slender ginger shoulders. And adding to this, the more I looked at pictures taken of infiniminer, the more obvious it became just how much he took from this game. He tweaked it a little and called it his own. I mean, look at the lava, the TNT, the fact the characters are only 2 blocks tall. Minecraft's body is fueled by infininer's death. Which leads me to think about how convenient his release date was of Minecraft. He clearly knew what he was doing was not entirely moral, as he waited until after infiniminer tanked to release his own version of it. Now all of this evidence points to the idea that we probably shouldn't credit him for all of its popularity. But then that leads you to wonder, who is it then? Who is responsible for this incredible game? Well, we have 3 suspects. The OG creators, aka the creators of infiniminer and Dwarf Fortress, Jeb, and early 2010 Minecraft YouTubers. Now, let's take a look at the first one. As stated before, Notchip took a lot of inspiration from infiniminer and Dwarf Fortress, and basically without them, he would not have been able to concoct Minecraft at all. After all, infiniminer gave him that distinct blocky style that makes the game so accessible and easy to create with. But crediting them for the success of Minecraft doesn't feel right at all. For instance, we praise Leonardo da Vinci and Vincent van Gogh, but who was the first person to use paint? Such a question would be highly debated, and only some omnipotent being that categorizes the history of mankind could be able to answer that. But then we could even backtrack that further. We could try to find the first person to draw, then that person's mother, then the lineage that mother evolved from, then the amoeba that came from, and then the Big Bang. Did this star create Minecraft? So we can't necessarily credit them, as they didn't technically have a hand in it. Yes, inspiration was taken from their games, but nowhere along their journey did they ever intend to contribute to Minecraft's creation, which is just so annoying. Imagine being so slightly off the mark of your game and now someone else is fabulously wealthy and you can't even justifiably be credited for it. I would be sick. I say sick! So we have eliminated them as suspects, so let's move on. There is Jeb. When Notch Xander was still behind the creative wheel, there was so little to the game. The textures hurt your eyes, you couldn't sprint, the mouse sensitivity was insane, the villages were sad and empty, and it had game-breaking glitches, one of which allowed you to duplicate anything, basically trashing the value of the rarest items in the game. Jeb implemented everything that makes Minecraft just so unique when compared to other games out there. He made it possible to play it purely technical and plow through with no goal other than to kill everything in sight, while also making it completely possible to not kill anything at all. What other game can do that? Even in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, you always end up killing someone. He should undoubtedly be praised for all of this grueling work on this incredible game. But let us compare Jeb to another genius artist, Vincent van Gogh. Both took their respective art forms and created something absolutely amazing that would be admired for years to come. Both have work that is easily recognizable during a time that the markets are oversaturated, and both of them are skinny ginger men with beards. And yet they both loom in some kind of shadow. Jeb's being Notchatha and Van Gogh being his ear and death. I can see why though. A simple Google search will immediately tell you that Minecraft was created by Marcus Persson. One of the first things I learned when I started playing back in 2014 was that he was the creator, and I don't know who Jeb is, but he makes the sheep do weird. So you might be thinking, Jeb should be credited for Minecraft's success. And before I answer that, I want to look at the last suspect. Early 2010 Minecraft YouTubers. One channel in particular was instrumental in launching this game to the limelight, Yogscast. This small at the time collaborative gaming channel consisted of Lewis Brindley and Simon Lane, Zephos and Honeydew respectively. At first they made iTunes podcasting guides for World of Warcraft, but in 2010 Lewis and Simon picked up this new indie game. And out of nowhere, this little channel of just 2 dudes messing around in World of Warcraft was catapulted into the public eye. Their hilarity paired with the uniqueness of Minecraft struck something within viewers that made all of us want to buy it, or at least beg our parents to when we pulled them into the back of Walmart and into the tech aisles. Whether it was the simplicity of it during a time in which games were getting seemingly only more realistic, or the fact that just 2 funny guys were playing it, we all bought into it. And this very reason is why I don't think Jeb should be credited for all of it, because it began to soar in popularity before Jeb took over creative control. We can't credit him for its success since it was already climbing the ranks before he had input into it, so get out of here, Jeb! Now we all had this cool new indie game, and what happened next? From the woodworks, a horde of completely ordinary people emerged. They picked up their controllers and and got to work pushing out video after video over this cool new game that lets you do anything you want, baby! Some of the most notable are Sky Does Minecraft, who first started posting Minecraft videos in March 2011. Bajan, who started in October, Exploding TNT in May, LD Shadow Lady in October, IS Cupquake in February, Jerome in August, The Camping Rusher in July, Ant Venom in March, Magma in September, and, of course, Yogscast. And obviously there are so many others, but for argument's sake I narrowed it down, and I actually want you guys to tell me below who you think had the biggest impact on popularizing Minecraft. I have my answer, but I want to know yours. Now, all of these people helped build this huge community that many of us would become part of and, coincidentally, start our own incredibly cringy YouTube channels that we would upload one video to, then ditch and eventually delete out of fear of people from school finding it. This was the first huge spike of the game and brought it from this small, in-tune internet community to making headlines. This, accompanied with the terrifying yet oh so groovy Captain Sparkles parodies, ensured its success. But seriously, what was up with those? Don't get me wrong, the parody of Viva La Vida still brings a tear to my eye, but why do they move like that? Why, Sparkles? All this popularity skyrocketed Minecraft to the second best-selling game at the time. Everyone knew what it was. It was officially a success! So that's it! They created it. As stupid as it sounds, the group of dedicated youngsters blew this game up to immeasurable heights, and we are eternally grateful to them. Okay, something didn't feel right about that ending. Look, I am not going to deny that their content had an insane influence on its popularity, but, hear me out. It's that question of if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Or, more accurately, if a tree performs Beethoven's Diabelli Variation C Major OP 120 while singing Livin' La Vida Loca in perfect pitch when no one is around to watch, did it happen? You see, good work on its own is not popular. Just as I could be an incredible hacky sacker, but no one would know until I bring you all over to experience the sack. Many people argue that talent is not innate or valuable until observed, as it theoretically doesn't exist until an outside party sees it. So, who then created Minecraft? Who should be credited for this massive success and its impact it had on so many people? I was lost for a while, trying to pin it down. No one person fit the mold. It always seemed to be a culmination of things, with many people being responsible for varying parts of it. But then, it hit me. Of course it's not just one person. Good things rarely are. It's not the people being watched, it's not the content they're putting out that made it special. It was the people picking the game up as they heard it was fun, then finding themselves still playing it over 10 years after it was released. It's you. As sappy as it sounds, it's 100% true. It is because of you. We were the audience. We gave them power. You think Zelda and the Notcherina of Time envisioned the game becoming what it is today? You think Jeb did? Okay, well actually maybe he did because he came on board after. That's beside the point. There is an entire system of electricity and technicalities with Redstone that allows you to literally FaceTime people in Minecraft. I mean, we have either too much time on our hands or just enough. People have created gigantic floating islands and created rich backstories for them. Some even take it a step further and roleplay the entire thing to those people I say, "You are literally so cool, please invite me to be a jester on your court." An entire community has been made around finishing the game as fast as possible with a team of moderators for each version ensuring fair runs. Another around making scale models of real-life places. Oh, and the Earth? They're remaking the Earth! And that's not even mentioning the servers. People have managed to recreate paintball, golf cart racing, and so many others, as well as make entirely new ingenious games like Build Battle of the Walls and Bed Wars. And Skyblock, which I'm not entirely sure where that fits, it is literally a huge game within a game that then has variations. There's Skyblock, Skyblock Hardcore, Skyblock but there's only one block, and Skyblock but there's no blocks. That's just folly. If Minecraft completely flopped, then yeah, whatever, let old Ink Notch Test take the credit for it. But it hasn't, and he shouldn't. If it wasn't for all of us swarming our local GameStop and picking up this weird little game, nothing about it would be the same. we would have all just continued digesting whatever the newest games are and moving on to another hyper-realistic, gritty, rainy dystopian game that comes out. So that's it. A game about creating whatever you want was ostensibly created by us. Or, to summarize it best, this guy? He is Notch the Father. Hey guys, I really hope you liked this video. I have more coming out, so if you would like to see them, make sure to subscribe.